Hello, welcome to Mid-Month Book Bash. And yes, I'm outside. For the moment, the weather is decent here in Oregon. We've had, for Oregon, some pretty wild weather this spring. And by that, I mean, not really that wild. When you live in a place where you have 4 seasons and they're all relatively mild, you become a weather wimp really quickly. So we say we've had wild weather. We've had a couple like windy days and maybe a thunderstorm. But anyway, we have been having off and on rain for a very long time, but right now it's sunny and I thought I would just come out and film this intro here instead of in Boring Corner. But anyway, Mid-Month Book Bash. This was started by Doris at Aldi Books. I'm crooked. It wouldn't be one of my videos if I don't fix my, there we go. And it's just, you know, it's the second weekend of the month, second full weekend of the month, where we spend a little more time reading and talking about what we're reading. I actually extend it. I do Wednesday to Wednesday. So it is Wednesday, the 9th of April right now. And I'm starting my vlog. As I said, I'm outside for the moment. I think the mailman is here. I'm not sure. The cat is over there. I got to make sure she doesn't decide to make a runner for it. She's getting a little outsore time. I usually end, or I have been ending my mid-month book bashes with getting my hair done. I just got my hair done, so I'm starting it this time. But I wanted to go over kind of what I'm reading at the moment. So I have quite a bit going, but I have 2 books that are going to be done very soon. They have to be. They're both ebooks. The first one is Funny in Farsi by Firuza Dumas. This is a memoir. It's a very lighthearted memoir about a woman who immigrated from Iran to the United States with her family. It's very sitcom-y. It's very enjoyable. I'm reading this from my Marginals and Margaritas book group, which is kind of a misnomer because I don't think we have ever had a margarita during this group. And it's on Zoom, so we aren't even getting together to have margaritas. We started it during COVID, and we thought, oh, well, when it's over, we'll get together and have margaritas. But then we decided to just keep it on Zoom, and we have people who don't even live in the area joining our group. So we have Maria Andrea for Books and Bocadillos, she's in the group, and commenter Angela, she's in the group. So we have people from all over. So we're clearly not ever going to get together to have margaritas. So be sure. Oh boy, she's looking at the little hole in the fence. This is not a good thing. Oh well, I might tempt her with treats to get her to come in. Sorry, I'm not just gonna keep looking at the cat the whole time. But anyway, that's on Saturday, so I have to have this book done by then. And it's a pretty quick read. I think my Kobo says I have like a little over, almost not quite 2 hours left, but I do know there's a reading guide at the end, so it's probably shorter than that. And I have been reading faster than the Kobo says I'm reading, so I'll be done with that. The other one is a memoir that I'm kind of reading for, well, I'm not kind of reading, I am reading it, for People April, called How to Share an Egg. It's a food memoir, and I can't remember the author's name, but the picture's up here, so there you go. And it's about a woman. It's really about a woman, and this is a food memoir, so there's a lot of talk about food, but it's really about, you know, her father was a Holocaust survivor and kind of how that affected her growing up, and it affected her being one of the few Jewish girls in the area. She grew up in Edmonton, Alberta. I'm really enjoying it, but it's a library book and it's due soon, so I have to get that done. And then I have 2 buddy reads going. The one that I'm having on ebook, I'm doing it with Katie Sykes, and it's A Discovery of Witches. So once I finish those 2 other books, I will have a lot more time to devote to this one. But right now I'm just kind of reading at least a chapter a day just to kind of keep going with it. But it's really compulsive, not compulsive, propulsive. That's the word I'm looking for. Make sure the cat stays there. Okay, she's turned around. And so I'm going to really enjoy it when I can give more time to it. And the other one that I am doing a buddy read of is this one. The 272, The Families Who Were Enslaved and Sold to Build the American Catholic Church by Rachel L. Swarns. I'm buddy reading this with Patrice at 2 Minutes on Books, and we're doing a kind of really slow paced read. So we're reading 2 chapters a day, which is not at all like, not a burden on my reading whatsoever. It probably, I can do that in like half an hour or so on Sundays. Sometimes it's not, I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of a varied length there. But I'm really enjoying this so far. It does seem like this is a little bit of a misnomer because it actually kind of feels like it's the Catholic Church, and it deals with Jesuits who, yes, enslaved people and all that, but it also more specifically deals with a sale of 272 slaves who were sold in 1838 to raise money to build Georgetown University. So it's really interesting. This is a story I hadn't heard of before, so I'm really enjoying it. So those are my buddy reads. I also have a couple other books. This one I am still plucking away on very slowly. At this rate, I'll have it finished just in time for next year's March on the Moors. But dude, it's so big. And then this I'm reading for Historathon. It's Queens of the Crusades, England's Medieval Queens, book 2. So there are currently 3 books in this series, but a 4th one is forthcoming later this year. And I plan to read this one and the 3rd one for this quarter of this year's 2nd quarter of Historathon. So when I finish this, I'm going to read Embers in the Ham. But that book is about Vikings as a change of pace. And then I will go on to Queens of Chivalry, which is book 3. Book 4, I believe, is called Queens of War. But again, that's coming out in I want to say September this year. So I'll be reading that next year for Historathon. And then I do have an audiobook going. I am listening to a booktube booktube prize book. So I'm not going to talk about it, but I will tell you it's The Showman. Can't remember who it's by, but it's about Zelensky. So I am listening to that as well. So I do think once I finish Funny and Farsi and How to Share an Egg, I'm going to pick up another print book to kind of go along with everything. And I think I might pick up Raising Hair, which is the group read for people April. I haven't checked to see if we have a schedule on it, but a scheduled read is just not going to work with what I have going this year. So I'm just going to read it on my own, but I think that's the book that I'm going to pick up. I do have other books I could pick up, including 2 booktube prize books that I have in print. But I think I'm going to go with Raising Hair. But anyway, that's what I'm going to be working on. And I'm going to do a little tour of what's blooming in our backyard. So hold on. Okay, the light's a little better if I stand over here in the shade, but here's our big cherry tree. This tree can be super productive, and we've got a lot of blossoms on it this year, so we might have a big cherry year. Kind of back here, that tree that's kind of chopped up a little bit right there, that is an Italian prune tree or a plum tree, and that one can be super productive. And then there's some sticks sticking out of the ground behind these sticks. That's a fig tree that we're hoping takes root. We actually got it last year. It belonged to some friends of ours, and they moved, and they didn't move by choice. Their house got, the house that they had rented, and one of them had lived there for 40 years, but it had been deemed uninhabitable because it was so old, I guess. They had to move, and they didn't want the landlords to get that tree, so they gave it to us. And I'm hoping that it takes a root this year, because I would love to have a fig tree. Over here, we have a Bartlett pear tree, an Asian pear tree, a red delicious pear tree, and I want to say a Fuji. There's 2 different kinds of apple trees there. I will say, and this one that's right here, it's starting to get the pink ones. This is what do they call that? They grafted 6 different kinds of apples on it. And then this one right here is a Honeycrisp tree, or maybe it has a couple others too. I'm not sure. Anyway, we do get a lot of apples, but we don't eat any of these apples because we don't do the chemical sprays for bugs, but we get the apples, and lots of times my husband will make applesauce or apple cider out of it, but we don't just eat these apples. And then let's see, there's my little filming station there. There's the cat with our one blooming flower over there. Alice, don't eat the tulips. There's our rapidly growing rosemary bush with some lavender in with it. I planted them too close together, so now they're kind of intermingled, but I use a lot of rosemary when I cook, so this has been very handy. This was my husband's attempt to grow tomatoes last year, and it didn't work. And those are our blueberry bushes. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, we had a really harsh, I should say, heat wave in June, right as the berries were coming, and they all got fried. And these bushes haven't been the same since. So I don't know if, it might be, we might have to just take them out and replant, but they have not been really productive since then. And you can kind of see, this is really muddy down here. Down there, these are some ever-bearing strawberries my husband planted in here. And we get some, they get eaten a lot by critters because they're close to the ground. I'm hoping, and I need to order them, I'm hoping to plant some potatoes in bags like these. I have a lot of other bags, and I'll probably put those kind of back there. Again, I'm hoping to do that. And then over here we have that bush, whatever the hell it is, heck it is. And then that is a hydrangea, which looks really terrible now, but when it blooms, it's pretty. And I need to do a better job of cutting it back. So and I have no clue what's going on in those bags. I have no idea. So anyway, oh, and that is a tree our neighbors gave us for Christmas that I put out here, and then it got blown over in the wind, and we haven't moved it since. So maybe I should do something about that. And there's the cat still trying to eat that tulip. And there are some super soakers for reasons. Anyway, that's what's going on in our backyard this time of year.
Hello, it is Friday. The light is weird because I'm right by my window. I'm up in my bedroom. I'm reading up here. Sorry. I'm reading up here today because I made a very unpleasant possible discovery. If you've been watching for a while, you know I've been dealing with weird sciatica stuff for like over a year. And I think I figured out what the culprit is. I think it's my reading chair. And so I'm going to spend a week reading up here instead, which means I have to fight the cat every time I come up because she likes to sleep where I need to sit. And so we did just get in a fight. I won, of course. But anyway, I'm doing my reading now up here, and hopefully, I don't know what I hope. I mean, on one hand, I kind of hope that, yeah, we figure out it's a chair, then I know what it is. But on the other hand, I like that chair, and I like sitting there to read. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I just filmed my weekly update, so you will have already seen it by the time you see this. So I'm just going to get into my reading. I'll talk to y'all later.
Hi, I'm a mess. I know, it's okay. It's Saturday the 12th. It is the anniversary of, I got to do math here, 60, it's a long time ago, of the bombing of Fort Sumter at the beginning of the Civil War. I don't know why that has always stuck in my head. Anyway, I just finished my book club, and if you watched my weekly wrap-up last week, I said we did funny and Farsi, and I didn't think it would be very discussable, and I was right. So we spent a lot of time talking about other things, but that's cool. I did want to tell you what our next book club book is, because we had usually like a week before, I gotta scooch up here, a week before book club, I sent out a poll with the books for that meeting. Now we kind of go by heritage months. So like for February, we did books by African and African diaspora authors, Black authors. This month we did Arab diaspora, or American authors, which is funny in Farsi. In June, we either do AAPI or Pride, because we do books every other month, so May and June kind of come together. Because of that, we had a ton of books up. So we ended up, the first time I did the poll, we ended up a 5-way tie. And I thought, well, we're just going to do another poll. So let me tell you what my 5-way tie was. I should have it here. With the top 5 books that we had that went up for the second round. And I'm interested in all of them. Hold on one sec here. Part 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Lavender House by Lev Rosen. This is a mystery. Pride. It's set in San Francisco. Lavender, I've heard really good things about it. I actually am going to read it because I own it. I'm going to read it in June. And then we have our one non-Pride book that made the top 5, which is The Swimmers by Julie Atsuka. Woodworking by Emily St. James, which I kind of broke the rules on. I put a little rule in place that books have to be out 6 months before I put them on the list. But I was so intrigued by Woodworking when I saw Emily St. James being interviewed by Brett on his channel, and I will put the link down to that video on here, that I put it on immediately. That's the one I voted for. And then Our Wives Under the Sea, which I've already read, but I actually do want to read again. But the one that won, which I'm happy with, is Detransition Baby. This has been on our list for a long time, and I'm very intrigued. So that's what we're going to be reading for June. I already put a hold on it. The hold will, I got to go put pizza in the oven, sorry. hold will be activated on June 1st and I can pick it up. But yeah, so that's my marginalized authors book group. Speaking of pizza, I have achieved something. I don't know what it is, but we have pizza every Saturday night because I need a night where I don't have to think about what we're eating. I don't have to make any decision. So Saturday night is pizza night. We have pizza on Saturday nights. It's the same pizza order. I get it, and I get it from Papa Murphy's. And today it happened. I went into Papa Murphy's and the person said, "Hi, Melinda, your pizza's ready over there." They know me now. I'm on a first name basis with Papa Murphy's, but anywho, I achieved something, I guess. Anyway, that's what's going on. I haven't finished anything else since Funny and Farsi. I'm hoping to finish How to Share an Egg very soon because it's going to go back to the library pretty soon, so I have to finish it. I am also reading A Discovery of Witches, which I'm enjoying. We'll see how it goes. It's a pretty quick read. It's a long book. And I'm doing my buddy read with Patrice, which is the 272, and then Queens of the Crusades, which I am loving. By the way, if you are someone who likes soapy drama of like just messed up families, read anything about the Angevins, because wow. I mean, and I knew this going in. I knew this, but I forgot since it's been, I'm like, oh man, this is juicy stuff. Eleanor of Aquitaine, I swear, is the most impressive woman who has ever lived. I will die on that hill. But yeah, really loving that. And I have Queens of Chivalry, which I am also going to read for Historathon this year. I'm going to read, so I'm doing Queens of the Crusade for Historathon. After I finish that, I'm going to read Embers of the Hands, Hidden Histories of the Viking Age by Eleanor Barraclough. Got the name right. And then I will read Queens of Chivalry, which this one is Isabella of France, Philippa of Hainault, Anne of Bohemia, and Isabella of Valois. Those are the queens that are in here. And so I'm looking forward to that. And then the next one I will read for Historathon is Poet, Mystic, Widow, Wife, The Extraordinary Lives of Medieval Women. This is Marjorie Kemp, who I wrote papers on in college, so I do know about Marjorie Kemp. Marie de France, Christine de Pizan, which I don't know that much about, and for medieval, Marie de France, Julian of Norwich, who also wrote papers about. I should have known that. So this will be after Queens of Chivalry. And then, if I have time, I will do another Viking book, and that is The Far Traveler, Voyages of a Viking Woman. We'll see if I can get this into Q2. If not, I'll just hold it till next year. Anyway, gotta go put pizza in, because, they know me at Papa Murphy's. Talk to you later. Okay, I'm too lazy to deal with my tripod, so I'm just holding this up, and I'm trying to stay straight. Today was Sunday, went to Palm Sunday service. I was going to do a little video, but then I didn't. Partially because for some reason my son ended up leading the procession and he didn't do it was weird. He just kind of went off and people just followed him and he didn't know what he was doing. It was, whatever. Anyway, yesterday I picked up 2 books at the library, so I did want to tell you what they were. The first one is Fathoms, The World and the Whale. Hi, Alice. Hi. This is for the Book Naturalist Book Club. And the other one is Such Big Dreams by Rima Patel. Did I already share this? I don't remember. Anyway, I got this from the library and there was a little bonus in it. I'm not going to read it all because it's kind of personal, but there was a love letter in it from Dallas from David or something. So I read it because it was in my library book, but I feel a little weird. And I read it to Bookish Best Friend because she was there when I found it. But yes, sometimes you find interesting things in library books. And I don't know who Dallas is, don't know who David is, but thank you for sharing your love letter with me. It beats that time that picture with me and a bunch of friends made us look like we were all naked in a bed together. Yeah, that was found in a book, but that's a whole other story. That was in one of my tag videos you have to go find. But anyway, so that's what I have. I'm going to finish 1, maybe 2 books tonight. The cat wants attention. I'm going to finish How to Share an Egg because it's going to go poof pretty soon. And then I might finish a booktube prize book, which I'm doing on audio, which I will not be talking about because it's a booktube prize book. But there you go. We'll see. I'll update if I finish something. Hey, I'm squinty because there's this thing in the sky that's like bright and there's no rain coming down. I'm trying to find like the best angle where I'm not, maybe that's a little bit better. I'm just gonna do like this the whole video. Anyway, it's Monday the 14th. I think my husband has finally downloaded TurboTax. So yeah, we go through this every year. I try not to stress about it. Anyhow, let me scoot this back a little bit. It's just gonna be a weird video. It's just so beautiful out and I wanted to be under the apple blossoms. So, and the cat is out here, like she's still not sure. Oh, so couple things. There we go. I did finish How to Share an Egg last night, and I think this is the first book that I can confidently say is going to be one of my best books of the year. So if you don't know what it is, it's a food/family memoir by Bonnie Reichert. And so Bonnie Reichert's father is a Holocaust survivor. He is actually still alive. I looked on her Instagram. He's still alive. And this book actually comes up, I think it comes all the way up to like 2024. So it's really, I think so. It definitely goes post-pandemic. Anyway, her whole life had sort of been in this sort of like unspoken way defined by her father's experience as being in the Holocaust and a Holocaust survivor. And it was something they didn't talk about. But she had great connections with her culinary heritage. So her father was a Holocaust survivor, but on her mother's side, a generation before, her grandmother had immigrated from the Ukraine, Soviet Union at that point, I guess, the Ukraine to Canada. She's from Alberta, Canada. So she also has that, and her grandmother had played a very important part in her early life and really had gotten her into food. And Bonnie spends a bulk of her life like being afraid of things and questioning things, and it all kind of comes back to her father's experience in the Holocaust, which he didn't talk a lot about, but as a kid she was starting to figure out on her own and how horrible it was, because Holocaust is not a walk in the park, guys. It was terrible. And it's like through food that she kind of gets her bearings, and she's able to better define her relationship with her father. She actually has a really close relationship with her father. So I loved this book. I just thought it was so honest. Family's not had anything to do with the Holocaust, but I do have a really close relationship with my father, and he had some trauma in his life too, and that has always played kind of a part as well. So I just got on like all the discords because this is a People April book. I went on mine. I'm telling everyone you need to read this book because I just want everyone to read this book. This is my glorious exploits of 2025, I think. I don't know. But yes, that's How to Share an Egg. I'd hold it up, but I had to read my library copy went poof on Libby. How to Share an Egg by Bonnie Reichert. Speaking of food, on my weekly wrap up, I talked about how I wanted to host Foodie February. I had this great idea for a food event, but February was not a great month because that's the month before March, which is March on the Moors. And so I was like looking for hosts and everything, but then somebody, and I forgot to look up to see who it was. I'm sorry. One of my wonderful commenters is a genius, and they suggested instead of Foodie February, how about Augustronomy? And I think that's just freaking awesome. So this is the first bit of news. Augustronomy is coming. I would still love to have some co-hosts. So if anyone's interested in co-hosting an event with me, probably the best way would be for you to contact me on Voxer. All my information's down below. And then we can kind of like talk about it that way. And I'd like to have 1, 2, 3 more hosts, just so we can do more with it. I at times I felt a little overwhelmed with, the table's a little shaky, March on the Moors. So it'd be great to have, someone to help me with it. So if anyone is interested in hosting an event, Augustronomy, let me know via Voxer. This other amazing news. We are getting an addition to our house. No, it's not a bookshelf though. That's still a sore point. I mentioned either earlier in this vlog or in my wrap-up somewhere, I think it was earlier in this vlog, that I realized that the sciatica issues that I have been having for literally since October 2023 all stem from my reading chair. So I just am not using my reading chair anymore, which means I'm reading up on my bed, which is fine. It's not ideal. And I'm like, whatever. Well, I was at church yesterday and I was just, talking to some people, and one of my friends at church said, we're getting a new sectional and we have this chair and ottoman and love seat that we're trying to get rid of, and you guys can just have it if you want. And it's like blue leather, and best of all, because my husband's like, we can't have it until you get rid of the cat. Well, these people had like babysat their kids, their daughter's kittens once, so it already has the little claw holes in it. So my cat can't really do anything more to it. So I'm like, yes. So on Saturday, I should be getting a new chair. Still waiting for the bookshelves though. I don't know. Mother's Day is coming up. We'll see what happens. I do have, my husband's like, you have too many books. And he's right. The problem is the too many books part are the books that I haven't read. Because my plan is I basically have 3 bookshelves. I have 2 that are identical, and I've shown them in past videos, are the ones that, it's my keeper shelf. And then I have one upstairs in our bedroom. I think I've shown that too, which is just like it, but it's my to be read shelf. And then I have another bookshelf where 3 of the 4 shelves are TBR as well. My goal is to get my owned TBR to the point where it just fits on the 3 shelves on the other bookshelf. If I really need to, I can clean things out and use the 4th one, but yeah, that's my goal. I don't think I'm ever going to be someone who has a 0 physical TBR. I don't think I'm going to live long enough to have a full 0 TBR. Thank you, ebook sales. But a 0 physical TBR. But if I can get it to just fit on that one bookshelf, that would be great. And then I can use that other bookshelf for my keeper shelf. Now, on that hand, I do need to be more selective about the books that I'm keeping. I do keep almost all of my nonfiction books, and I do keep all my history books. I was just talking to Patrice, 2 Minutes on Books, the other day on it, because we're doing a buddy read about the attack on history in the United States. It's like, it's insane. It is abso-freaking insane what they're doing. And they're trying to erase our history. They're trying to erase everything. And she said, I'm just going to buy history books and save them for my kids so that when they have kids, they can have these books from the before times. And I'm like, I'm not getting rid of my history books. Now, most of my history books are British history books, so I'm not losing that much there. But I can still get, I still plan to read. I looked at the date, more U.S. history books. So I looked at the dates for Historathon, and so Q1 is almost always for me, ancient Rome, ancient Greece. Q2 is medieval, which is my degree is in medieval history. And Q3 is like 1500 to 1820. So there we have the colonial period, we have the founding of the United States, we have colonial in other areas too. So that's where we really start. And I've always, or at least last year, I really stuck to the European side there. And I'm still going to do some European reading for that because that's Tudors. I do love my Tudors. And there's a book that I saw on Elizabeth at Bokens and Books channel that she recommended for People April called Rebel Empresses that just really looked fascinating to me. So I put that on my wish list, and hopefully I think that fits. See, that might fit into the next one. I have to check the dates on it, but still, but I am going to really try and focus more of Q3 and all of Q4 on US history, and look at US history from that focuses on marginalized groups or are written from the viewpoint of marginalized groups. Ideally, if it's focusing on a marginalized group, it would be written by an author who's in that group, but you can't always do that. So that's kind of my plan that I'm thinking about. I can go on such a rant now about the history because I'm so pissed about it. And also, the other thing Trump is trying to do is dismantle the IMLS, which is the government agency that funds all the public libraries, which sucks. Now, public libraries do get local funding, so that's good, but he's dismantling everything. And look, you know what? Local funding may have to get redistributed because of all these cuts. And so libraries are in danger. But one thing that is kind of immediate about this is the IMLS is what funds a lot of libraries' access to the Libby app. I live on the Libby app, so this is not good. I'm going to get on a whole thing, and I don't want to do that because it's a beautiful day and I'm sitting under the apple blossoms. My cat is over there hiding in the massive rosemary bush. So anyway, that's where we are. I am going to continue working on what I'm reading right now. So Arabian Nights, I'm not going to finish that for a while. I mean, I'm in volume 1. I'm clearly not finishing that for a while. Queens of the Crusades, which I'm actually going through pretty quickly. Probably not going to finish it this week, but I'll finish it next week. The 272, which is my buddy read with Patrice, which we're kind of doing paced together. I'll probably be talking about it in my weekly wrap up. Discovery of Witches, which I can now concentrate more on. And I'm doing that as a buddy read. And that is a good kind of like just brain cleanser book for me right now, which I kind of need. And I am going to start Raising Hair today. That is the group read for people April. Clearly I am not adhering to the schedule because that just wouldn't have worked for me this year. But I am really excited to read that because I haven't heard anything negative about it. So it sounds like a great book. Anyway, that is it. My cat is looking, she's walking the perimeter. So there's a cat in our neighborhood that roams free. Now, I don't know if it's someone's pet or what, because you need to, in the United States, it's very common to have, I don't know how it is in other parts of the world, but in the United States, more often than not, you try to have indoor only cats. Like my cat can go outside, but she knows, she better know, she has to stay in our backyard and she doesn't go very often. And usually I'm out here with her, but indoor only cats. And I can tell you, in my neighborhood, we have raccoons because my husband has found them in our yard, and we live just across the street, like across right over there is a big wooded area that's a park, and I know there's coyotes there. So it's stupid to let your cat roam free. Anyway, there's a cat that looks just like my cat that roams free. In fact, the other day I went chasing towards this cat and I was like, oh no, Alice ran away from me. And then I came home and she's sitting on my bed. So I was like, okay. But that cat has decided to hang out in our backyard, which is weird, and my cat doesn't like it. So I think she's like looking around for traces of that other cat. She is very territorial. So anyway, I'm getting hungry. I'm gonna go have some lunch and I'll talk to you later. Going on a little walk right now. Oops, look at that. Down to my neighborhood little free library. I'm dropping off Death Comes to Pemberley. I did not read it, but I've never had this happen. I said I picked up this book in a book haul, and like 4 people said it was absolutely terrible. And I said, you know what? I paid 75 cents for this. I have no qualms on hauling it right after I brought it home. So I don't think I'm gonna pick anything up at the little free library because I just dropped something off not too long ago, but we'll see. I'm not even bringing my tripod out because I just want to share how beautiful this tree is today. It just keeps getting prettier and prettier, and there's bumblebees, so we will get apples that we won't eat. It's gonna be lovely. Anyway, it's Wednesday night, so I'm about to close out this vlog. I was gonna do something more interesting today, but this day kind of became nothing. I had some errands to run this morning, and then I did some little free library drops off, which I would have filmed, except I don't have the talent to film and actually do the little free library exchange. I didn't pick up any books, but I dropped some off, so that's good. Yeah, I did finish my first book for the BookTube prize, and I've started on the second. I have all 6 books, excuse me, in my possession. 4 I got through Libro and 2 from the library, so I have them all. I just need to get to them. But I'm not going to talk about them right now. You'll hear about those in May. Is that right? No, June. June. But anyway, this was mid-month book bash. At least I got outside for most of it, or some of it. Okay, talk to you later.